Item 1, consider and adopt a resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of a second supplement to the replenishment agreement with the Seminole Economic Development Council and Seminole Municipal Authority in connection with the Sigma project financing. Seminole Utilities Authority.
Oh, that's our,
Jumping around.
yeah. This is the,
Correct.
this will be on it's on a separate page. It's not typically with your packet, so.
So, questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please. Jay?
John Kramer,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Tim Poplin, Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 2, consider and adopt a resolution authorizing the sale, issuance, and delivery of bonds of the authority to provide funds to construct, equip, and operate a family entertainment and recreational center facility, and retiring certain outstanding indebtedness of the Seminole Utilities Authority, designated bond counsel and financial advisor, authorizing sale thereof at a discount, waiving competitive bidding thereon, approving a sales tax agreement and a project agreement, and containing other provisions related thereto.
Move approval. Second.
Roll call, please.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the Seminole Utilities Authority.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. With that, we'll move to the regular meeting of the Seminole Airport Authority. Roll call, please.
Chris Anson,
Here.
Trace Connor,
Here.
Tim Poplin,
Here.
Eddie Foreman,
Here.
John Kramer,
Here.
Larry Church,
Here.
Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Dana Miller,
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, are there any appearances or petitions from the audience? Well, I actually should look at our list, which I'm assuming everyone's here for the city council meeting and not the Seminole Airport Authority. So if my assumption's wrong, please let me know. We'll move on to current business. Item 1, consideration and possible action to surplus 2 6-tenant hangar buildings located at the south end of the Seminole Municipal Airport.
Surplus to me tearing down?
Yes, the plan would be that they remove them at their own expense. There are no concrete floors, so it's not like there's a lot of demolition to happen after that.
And just as a reminder, this is due in part because, or directly because of the FAA expansion of the taxiway, that they will be in the way, and so they have to come down.
When you say they, it's they, the owners, we own them. So we're gonna put them down.
Well, we're sending them out to get a bid, see if someone wants to.
Oh, okay.
To purchase.
Okay. Move to approve them.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. We'll move on to the regular meeting of the Seminole Gas Authority. Roll call, please.
Larry Church,
Here.
Tim Poplin,
Here.
Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Dana Miller,
Here.
Trace Connor,
Here.
John Kramer,
Here.
Chris Anson,
Here.
Eddie Foreman,
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
Motion passes. Oh, sorry, we have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll call, please.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
yes,
Trace Connor,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda and no appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Gas Authority, I would again entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. We'll move on to the regular meeting of the Seminole Municipal Authority. Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Eddie Foreman,
Here.
Tim Poplin, Dana Miller,
here.
Larry Church,
Here.
Chris Anson,
Here.
John Kramer,
Here.
Trace Connor,
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes,
Larry Church,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda and no appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Municipal Authority, we'll move on to resolutions. Item 1, consider and adopt a resolution authorizing entering into a replenishment agreement with respect to the Seminole Economic Development Council's outstanding taxable special obligation tax increment refunding revenue bonds, Series 2016, by the execution and delivery of a second supplement to the replenishment agreement with the Seminole Economic Development Council and Seminole Municipal Authority in connection with the Sigma project financing and expressly approving the obligations and indebtedness created thereunto, or thereunder. So, Steve, would you mind kind of
Sure.
sharing?
You may recall that in 2008, we helped bring a company called Bar S to town. At the time, they were named Sigma Alimentos, and they subsequently ended up buying all of Bar S's plants. But in order to do that, the city of Seminole and Economic Development Council and the Seminole Utilities Authority offered incentives. And part of that incentive stayed in place until the day that we transferred all of our utilities into the Seminole Municipal Authority rather than the Seminole Utilities Authority. Well, through oversight, we left the obligations for the taxes that were going to help retire the incentives behind in the Utilities Authority that no longer had assets. The bondholders that held those bonds had a problem with that, as you can imagine. So this is cleanup, trying to get everything that should have been transferred in the beginning into the new authority, the Seminole Municipal Authority.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
yes,
Larry Church,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The, passes. We'll move on to the regular meeting of the Seminole City Council. Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin,
Here.
Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Larry Church,
Here.
Trace Connor,
Here.
Chris Anson,
Here.
Eddie Foreman,
Here.
Dana Miller,
here.
John Kramer,
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Corey, would you lead our prayer, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day. God, I thank you for the privilege to serve our town. God, I ask that you would bless each person that is here tonight, and that you would bless our decisions and our discussions. In your name we pray.
Amen. Consideration and action of consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
yes,
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, we'll move on to appearances or petitions from the audience. Couple of things. Members, or our guests have 5 minutes to discuss an issue that they may have or some topic. I think some may be here and that may be answered by something that's on the agenda later, that you would certainly have the opportunity to ask a question at that point. So if that's the case, then you may want to skip this and wait until then. But with that, we'll move on to Zach. All right, Macklemore. Is that right? I got it right. Look at that. Finally, how many times? With Canadian Valley Fiber.
All right, so it's a momentous occasion. We have officially started everything. We have a boring rig in the ground as we speak. They're already finding rocks that are definitely hidden here in Seminole County. But we are well underway on this project and looking forward to the progress. We will be making our best effort to make, as we move into residential areas, to make them aware that we're coming through, what we're doing. We're going to be relegated mostly to the easements and right-of-ways, but every now and then that sometimes encroaches upon somebody's property or whatnot. So we want to be good neighbors, keep everything nice and clean. We're going to be giving out our number, making that well enough known to everyone. So if they ever have any questions or issues or whatnot, please reach out to us, let us know what it is that we can do, and we'll do everything that's within our power to make people happy as far as that goes. So that's all we have for now. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Margot Timms.
Or you need to just hold comments till after.
If that's what you want to do, because we know it will be you can, and then you can ask questions. I think Stuart will probably answer any questions that you may have anyway. And Barrett, same, okay. All right. With that, we'll move on to presentations. Public Works Director Bryant Baker to discuss repairs to the greens at the municipal golf course. And then after that, he will make a presentation regarding last year's Public Works projects.
All right, good afternoon. As you guys did last month, we kind of talked about the greens, appropriate some money to the golf course. Got to give you guys a heads up where we are. We've gone out for RFPs, requests for proposals, from 3 different companies. All of these companies have done work in the state of Oklahoma, greens from Tulsa to Oklahoma City, all the way down to Durant and Lawton. Those RFPs should come in. I think we're opening those up Friday of this week. So unfortunately for you guys, we're probably going to come back to you to try to do a special council meeting. The reason for that is we have a very short window in order to get these greens done. The prime planning time is the last week in May through about the 2nd or 3rd week in June. Sticking with the golf course and the managing group out there, that kind of works into their schedule. That allows us, roughly it's going to take about 10 weeks to get the greens actually growing to where we can open them back up to our citizens and surrounding communities. That gets us to where we can open those greens and the golf course completely up roughly about the middle of August. That still allows the golf course to host the big tournaments. Seminole State College, I think there's some other colleges around that come through us. So that's kind of what we're looking at. That's kind of the game plan we're on right now. Any questions on the greens?
Can you explain the scope of work that you're intending for them
So
to do?
what we're looking at is a new item that's out. I say a new item. This has been in play for about 10 to 12 years now. It's a no-till process. What these companies, that's what we're looking at. It's going to be the quickest, easiest for us to get the greens back open and the course back to where it needs to be. What we're going to do is 2 weeks before they come into the plan. Right now, we're looking at the last week in May. That's kind of what we're shooting for. That's why I want to ask, when we get the RFPs, to kind of do a special council meeting so we can get on their schedule. They're tentatively holding that time frame for us. It'll take them roughly about a day and a half to do all the greens, but it's a no-till. 2 weeks before they plant, we will start a kill process. We gotta spray 3 times those greens, a certain chemical that will kill the greens off, scrape those, aerate, sand. So there's a lot of things that we, I say we, the city and the managing group and the association are gonna work on trying to get this thing prepped and ready for them when they come in. When they come in, a day and a half later, it's ours. They will actually make 6 visits over the next 3 months to make sure that that grass is growing. They're gonna guarantee that the grass grows. Within a year, if any of that grass dies out, we've asked the contract that they come back and replant that, take care of the areas that are not growing. That answer your question?
Yes, I have another. What grass are you looking for?
We're going with Bermuda. So the current greens that we have now are probably 40-plus years old. I've heard anywhere from 40 to 52. Typical greens, that lifespan, 20 years. So the greens that we're going with, Bermuda, is the same thing that is in Fire Lake over Shawnee when they redid it, probably, 8 to 10 years ago. Same greens there, same greens in Henrietta, a couple of country clubs in Tulsa. And as we talk to these 3 different companies, they all advise that this is what the golf courses are going to. Low maintenance, easy to maintain. And basically, we're going to have a green that's going to be competitive with anybody else around us.
Thank you.
I have a question. So you'll have to educate me for just a second. So the city we're actually paying and doing the work of laying the new grass down?
No, we're not laying the grass. We're just prepping the greens in order for the companies, whoever gets the bid or the RFP, for them to come in and do their work.
So do you know, like, kind of estimate, like, how much is the city doing, or how many resources are we putting into prepping the greens for the management company?
Honestly, a lot of this is going to be taken care of by the association and the managing group of the golf course.
Okay,
We're going to be doing very little,
okay.
but I wasn't going to leave us out of it.
All right, thank you.
Still on it.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to your next part.
All right, so this next part is, I kind of wanted to give the council an update. I think you guys all have a printout of the flyer. It's going to have every bit of the slideshow, but Bree was a huge part in establishing this. You guys have all heard the mayor and other council members say that when I took over this position, it was, we all wear the same name on our shirt. So you're going to see a little video first, and then we'll go through the slides and just kind of show you guys what my crews have done over the last year. So it's just a very short clip of what these guys do. The very first page, you guys will see what is detailed or what entails public works, wastewater, parks, cemetery, line construction, the street department, water department. Next slide is wastewater, kind of breaks it down as far as how many gallons per year we treat. I'm supposed to be working this quick, my bad. So at the wastewater treatment plant, we treat 381 million gallons per year. Roughly, that's 1.2 million gallons per day that goes through our wastewater treatment plant. The current plant we have, the max is 2.5 million gallons per day. As everybody knows, we're working on constructing a new wastewater treatment plant, which will average 1.5, but the max is 3.6. So that gives us plenty of growth for what you, the council, are bringing into this community. Parks and cemetery. You guys have always seen these guys out mowing, so basically just the center medians, we have 11 acres of center medians that we mow. That doesn't include the parks, the wellness center, the Heritage House, which all totals about 85 acres in parks. They maintain the maintenance of the creeks. If you guys have ever seen behind the baseball fields, it looks a whole lot better. It's taken us several years to get to that point. But that's how we want to keep it presentable to the public and anybody that comes in our community. And then installation and removal of Snowman Wonderland. You guys know that thing starts roughly in August. We start putting the lights up 1st of October. That way we're ready to go whenever Thanksgiving comes around. Water department currently has 60 miles of sewer line and 92 miles of water line. Last year, when we're talking about this, we're taking last year's calendar year. That doesn't include what we've done for the last 3 months. 143 water repairs, 94 sewer repairs, 136 after-hour call-outs. We perform 8,175 BEQ water samples a year. And then 14 new meter services. That's going to go up tremendously this year with the new construction and commercial buildings that we have coming in. Call Loki's is a big deal. CVAC is going to keep us busy on this, so this number is going to go tremendously higher. We average about 165 of those per month. And you can kind of see it picked up from July 1 through February 9th. We were averaging roughly about 80 of those per month. Line construction, this is a crew that you guys put together probably 5 years ago. It's a crew of 3 guys. DEQ allows us to put in 5,600 feet or equivalent of 1 mile of water line and sewer line a year without having to have it permitted through DEQ. These guys installed 1,200 feet of new sewer line and installed 3,200 feet of new water line. Performed 42 point repairs. Basically, a point repair is a line collapse. And then replaced and refurbished 52 manholes last year alone. The line construction, basically we've kind of tried to break down a little bit of savings that they're giving us. This number is a little short now compared to the last probably 3 or 4 months, but overall these guys have saved us probably about $200,000 in savings just in a year. That kind of breaks it down a little bit there. Street department. Currently, we take care of 67.8 miles of road. That's basically equivalent from Java from here to Yukon. Last year, they performed over 12,000. Well, we used 12,000 tons of material to fix potholes. You guys have been great over the last 2 years, 2 to 3 years. We've been replacing those roads slowly in order to where that 12,000 tons starts to go down. They performed 400 poles and 103 new street signs that have been replaced throughout the town, and we're still a long ways from it. So we know we still have a bunch out there. The grade all that we purchased roughly about 1.5 years ago, we have trimmed 25 city blocks from trees that were overhanging the roads. What does that do? It helps us during ice storms. It helps us keep our roads open. We don't have ambulances and fire trucks and buses and bigger vehicles running in to those trees as they're going down the roads. We've also, this unit is multi-versatile, so we also use it to clean out ditches. And right now we're up to, well, this was last year, 15 city blocks. Now that's hard to do because by the time you do a call Loki and then we're playing with Mother Nature and rain and everything else, fixing potholes, that number could go up higher, and you're probably going to see that this year. And overall, concrete, we spent about $17,000 in concrete, and that's road repairs that we have done ourselves. And that's another huge savings that we haven't had to push off to Silver Star. That's pretty much my cruise in a nutshell. You guys have any questions?
I have a question that you probably won't have the answer to. But what I think everybody wants to know is how much more in water lines and sewer lines do we have to go until we kind of get rid of all the old stuff? We've been doing this several years and we see how much, but that's really what I think a lot of our citizens are interested in knowing, especially if they live on a street that may have some problems. But
You saw that small number. I mean, with just a three-man crew, we're not able to get to that 2 miles of line of view. We're basically, with a three-man crew and with all the point repairs that we're getting, averaging about a mile, maybe just a little over a mile a year. So it's difficult for us to get to that point. And you saw where we have 98 miles of water line. I would say 70% of those probably need to be replaced. Same thing with the sewer.
So then the next question would be, how do you determine, I know these, but I'm asking, how do you determine where to go replace water lines?
We base that off of some studies that we have an outside company come in and they do a flow study on our sewer lines. And we could get in depth on that, but it's all digital. They calculate the flow that comes through. They basically come back and tell us, hey, this is a problem area in your community that you need to do, and that's what we go after. You guys approve us annually to go out for what we call root control. That company comes in and tells us the same thing. The sewer lines aren't flowing fast enough. They use sound waves basically from manhole to manhole, and it will tell us the blockage of that manhole or that sewer line. Is it 70% blocked? Is it 10% blocked? And when they get done with that study, they give it to us in a packet, and they basically tell us, hey, here's your top 10 lines for the year, and that's what we go after. Now, we also have some citizens in the community that may have a chronic problem in their area, and that's what we go after also. We try to tie everything in together.
How about water lines?
Water lines,
While you're doing sewer lines, do you replace water lines as well?
yes, sort of. They're not the same ditch. So if anybody has that, water lines are usually in the front, sewer lines are usually behind your house in the alley. Right now, our biggest thing now, we have a ton of 2-inch water lines around town. And that's our main objective, is to get rid of 2-inch water lines. We have some that are at the age of probably 60, 65 years old. That's what we're focusing on right now. The other way that we determine on water lines is if we have a chronic block that we may have 2 or 3 breaks over the last 2 or 3 months. We're going in there and replacing the whole line. Water lines are a little harder to determine compared to the sewer. Water, we basically have to base it off of how many breaks that we had in that line over a 2-block period or maybe a block period.
Thank
Yeah,
you for the
so
explanation.
just so you can grasp, if we were laying a straight 1 mile a year, it would be easy to get to our targets. The problem is that we have to back up and say, all right, this half block is giving us the most problem. Let's replace that half block. Well, that takes about as long as it would take 3 straight blocks rather than pull off the job and go to a different site. So eventually, we're going to be in really good shape. We're making a dent for sure. I think one of the more unique things that I'm sure the council has heard that maybe the public may not understand is when we finish building a new sewer line, a new water line, typically it's going to have more volume and more pressure than what you had in the ground before. And there have been cases where we put this new line in, they've got a new meter, and their water is not clean. Well, what we know, because of the samples that we take from that line, is the water is clean. But because of the new water pressure and the volume that's coming through those lines, the lines under their homes are being flushed. And so they just assume that new construction is the problem. Well, not really. The issue is that your water lines, in some cases, are 70 years old. And they build up a certain level of residual inside, and if they get flushed, then you may see some discoloration in your water.
You guys saw the samples on there for DEQ, it was a little over 8,000. So we test every water well we have every morning, and that's sent to DEQ on a regular basis.
I have a question. Right, where are the, all of the sewer lines that are being replaced? Is there a certain area, like just off the top of your head, like where those are? Or are they just all over
I
kind
can
of
get you
equally?
that. They're kind of all over town. We try to spread it evenly around town.
Okay.
We have some, like I said, older part of the community or of the city.
Mhm.
Takes a little bit more time and effort in that area than a newer portion of the community. But when we put it on the map, and I can email that to you, or get it to Steve, get to you.
Yeah.
We've mapped all of them out, and it's all over town. It's not just one area.
Okay, thank you.
And it wasn't by design, but yeah, the map that he's talking about, it's pretty impressive how spread out it is from all the wards. It's pretty even.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Thank you
Thank
for your time.
Thank you. Good job.
Under approvals and acceptances, bids purchasing, item 1, consideration and possible action to approve the state bid price of $9,865.72 from Great Plains Kubota in Shawnee for the purchase of a Z700 zero-turn replacement lawnmower at the Reynolds Wellness Center to be funded from the Reynolds Maintenance Account.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under resolutions, item 2, consideration and possible action to approve resolution number 2023-03, a resolution declaring May as Fair Housing Month for the city of Seminole.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 3, I'm going to read this, and then Stuart, I'm going to ask if you just come up and kind of give an overview of what this is dealing with. All right, thank you. So item 3, consideration and possible action upon resolution authorizing and approving the incurring of indebtedness by the trustees of the Seminole Economic Development Council to be accomplished by the issuance of tax increment revenue bonds, notes, or other evidences of indebtedness in one or more series on a tax-exempt or taxable base at a premium or discount in the aggregate principal par amount of not to exceed $53 million to provide funds required to complete the acquisition, construction, and equipping and improving of public infrastructure within increment district number 2, City of Seminole, Oklahoma, and financing development incentives related thereto. Establish a reserve fund, if any, capitalize interest, and pay cost of issuance and all matters related thereto, including but not limited to the waiver of competitive bidding thereof and declaring an emergency. Okay, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. My name is Stuart England. I'm with Floyd the Driver PLLC out in Norman. We are serving as bond counsel to the SEDC with regard to this tax increment revenue financing. What this item is, just quick overview, because SEDC is a public trust with the city as a beneficiary, everything that SEDC approves with regard to any kind of indebtedness has to also be approved by the city. So that's what this item is. SEDC has already approved this. This is now, as a beneficiary of the cities to approve. What this is not is a debt of the city. The city is not incurring any debt by adopting this resolution. This is simply an acceptance of what SEDC is going to do. Overall, this project is tied to increment district number 2 that was created at the end of last year for the new development that is going in on the west side of town, just across from the high school. You may have seen a lot of the progress that's been made out there already. This financing is going to help put in that infrastructure and act as an economic incentive, all within the scope of the project plan that was adopted with the formation of Increment District Number 2. This is to SEDC. Again, SEDC being the issuer, not the city, but SEDC is under non-recourse, would be the category here. There is no recourse because this is fully funded by the tax increment revenues. There is no pledged tax, there is no new tax, there is nothing but the increment that would be captured and used to finance these bonds. Again, not a debt of the city and non-recourse SEDC. With that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions or go into any further detail as you need.
I think one of the great examples an okay example maybe, that Stewart had used in the past is that basically the land that is out where the housing and other businesses are located had a tax on it that went to the schools, the county, and others. That tax is going to stay the same amount for the next 20 or 25 years until these bonds are paid off. Any improvements that occur on that property go into this fund to help pay for all the infrastructure that's going in. So we're not paying for it. This is money that's going to be raised through improvements that are going to go on out there. And then after the 20 or 25-year term, then the schools and everyone else that had an interest in that from those funds originally see an increase in their funds by whatever amount it has been raised due to all the improvements. So, Stewart, if I butchered that, please.
No, that was wonderful summation. To give you some kind of appreciation of what kind of difference that can make, and I'm trying to do this from memory, so don't quote me, but I believe the estimated tax value of that land where that development was going in was about $2,600 or so a year. That's all it was generating in ad valorem revenue. With the improvements that will go in, that are going in and will continue to go in, that number will rise significantly, and it's that difference above the 2,600-ish threshold up to whatever it ends up being once all of the development goes in. That is that increment that's being captured, and at the end of the day becomes the new base once the debt is paid off, and that new base being significantly higher than its original base of 2,600 is going to benefit all of those taxing jurisdictions that operate within the increment district.
And with that being pledged, that allows the developer to go out and, whether it's bonds or through other type of financing, to be able to do that construction work.
That's correct.
Can I ask a question?
You can.
Okay, so basically, the people who are building the homes, or whatever's going to go in out there, are going to have taxes that are going to be paid by them for the improvements, right?
It basically, so they're going to build a couple of strip malls with businesses, houses. Well, the value of that land is going to go up. So that tax difference, ad valorem tax difference, is going to go to build the infrastructure. Actually, it's going to go to pay bonds that will allow him to be able to build that infrastructure. And as Stewart mentioned, this is kind of a pass-through, but we need someone to manage it, and that's SEDC, but we have to approve them to be able to do that and the definitions in that.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes?
Do we have businesses already promised to come in, or are they just going to be building empty buildings, so to speak?
They're from the developer. One, he said that Seminole's kind of unique because normally in most places he has to have several homes already up in and sold. He already has 2 strip malls sold already, he said, which is just unique. So there are already some businesses that have committed to come in, as well as a new motel is planning on coming in as well, from what we've been told.
I have a question.
Please.
So, can you explain the waiver of competitive bidding for me? That concerns me a little bit. Or is that typical, or?
That's typical on these types of transactions, and it does not have to do with the waiver of any kind of construction costs or anything like that. It simply has to do with how bonds would be placed. Typically, what we see is a negotiated transaction versus a competitive sale. So in a negotiated transaction, the underwriter will reach out and try and find the best deal possible that actually works with this credit. In a competitive sale, the underwriters or the placement agent would simply open it up for bid, and whatever you get is whatever you get. So usually, and I can't speak for every single project that's ever been done, but usually, negotiated sales tend to result in better terms on the financing, better interest rates, better structural things such as call features and options to redeem, because the underwriter is able to actually work with someone that's interested in buying that debt. When you take it to a competitive sale, you can put all of those things that you want in your bid specs, but if nobody bids, you can't sell anything. So that's one of the downsides of competitive sale, and so by waiving that competitive bidding, the underwriters that have been selected for this project by SEDC will be able to go in and actually find whoever they need to sell this debt to try and get the best possible outcome for this project.
So, I guess this is a pass-through. It is SEDC is the one, at the end of the day, is holding the bag. And the reason why I kind of label it that way is, my concern is that if there's, bidders want to contest it or sue, do they sue the city, since we're signing off on this, or do they sue SEDC?
We're not responsible for that, the city or SEDC.
Yeah, SEDC would be the issuer, so to be perfectly frank, if somebody wanted to target this issue, that would be who they would have to include. But like what has been said, there is no recourse to either the city or SEDC, so there wouldn't be any challenge to be had ultimately, so long as there hasn't been anything done inappropriate, which to this point clearly has not been. So that any challenge, number one, would be pretty unlikely to succeed on the merits, and even if it was, it would have to be targeted first and foremost at SEDC, not the city. That doesn't stop people from including anybody and everybody when they file a suit, but in terms of actual, I guess the party that would be most appropriate would be SEDC, but not the city.
Not the city.
Yes.
I have a question. I need to ask, who specifically is the SEDC, and where do they get their money? In other words, I as a taxpayer, how do they operate? And who are, I understand it's SEDC, but there have to be people behind that. So who are the people, and where do they get their money?
Well, Seminole Economic Development Council is a public trust that's comprised of members of the community here. And as for funding specifically for this project, I can't speak to anything else that SEDC does. But with regard to this project, it's that tax increment revenue that would go to pay for any outstanding obligations issued on this. There is no, to my knowledge, there is no tax as generally, there is no tax that comes in from everybody that goes and supports this bond issue. That does not exist. It's only those revenues out in increment district number 2. So as to anything else that SEDC does, I don't want to necessarily defer, but they are a public trust comprised of people here in the community, and I'm more than happy to let anybody there in front of you kind of explain more. They've got a lot more experience with SEDC than I do.
So Steve, would you like to expand on that a little bit? But I will say that.
Let me make sure I'm in the
Okay.
agenda item, because this is a sensitive.
Okay, all right,
piece.
okay.
Just their self-governing body.
Can I talk about revenue? Okay. So the Seminole Economic Development Council has 9 members. They are all, you would consider them community members. 3 of the members are appointed by the Seminole Chamber of Commerce. I think we've got 3 from the Seminole Industrial Foundation. 3 city council members sit on that, and then 2 are elected at large. So it's a pretty good cross-section of the community. I believe it was 1996 that Seminole passed a half-cent sales tax, and part of that sales tax went to form the Economic Development Council. And since that time, they have written a lot of grants and brought a lot of jobs, including Blue Wave, saved Enviro Systems, saved the hospital on a couple of occasions, and brought in Bar S Foods. Built the industrial park, water tower. All of those things are the result of what the Seminole Economic Development Council does. Many years ago, that sales tax went away. Principally, what they operate from are from rents that are charged against the buildings that they own. They acquired those buildings through grants again. So things like that, we call it the incubator building. You would probably know it best as the South Wrangler building on Harvey Road. That was acquired through a grant, and those lease proceeds go through the SEDC, as well as some of the hangars and at the airport, things like that, that generate revenues for the Economic Development Council. So, and projects like this, they were able to work with Larry Owsley and TJ Remy, the developers on the new addition out there, to get them to do what they're doing now. So I think, did I cover all of it?
Yeah, I think also one of the things that they can do, which the council can't do, is, we cannot go into a contract for longer than 1 year. We cannot cause a future group of council members to be indebted for that. As the Economic Development Council, they can do that on behalf of the city or things like that. So there's benefits that they can do that we cannot do. And so that allows them to enter into some longer-term contracts that can benefit the city that we do not have the ability to do.
So who places those people in those positions? Are they chosen?
So I'm on it. I picked 2 of the city council members. And then, as Steve had mentioned, from the Chamber of Commerce, they're picked by the chamber. And then SIF, I believe they choose their members that will be on the board as well. And then there's 2 at large. Is that correct?
I'm sorry.
Is there 2 at large?
Yes.
That the chairman gets to pick with the vote of?
Yeah, they pick their own chairman.
Yeah.
They vote their own
But
chairman.
I mean, the 2 at large, those are chosen by?
Those are nominated and elected by
by
the
the group.
remainder of the body.
Yep.
So is it possible to know who they are, or is that a secret?
Yeah, can Steve get that to you?
We're getting outside of our.
Yeah, right. I mean, we can't, we have to kind of follow this scope, so, but we're happy to answer those questions about it, since it does tie into this, but we'll get you those later. We can't do that. Now, I can't even tell Steve to do something right now, so. All right.
Mayor, I have
Other
a
questions?
comment too. Thank you for your questions. I too want to know. I'm on the council and I don't know who they are. So that would be something I think would be helpful for all of us to have, or at least me.
Sure.
So just, it does seem like we do, this does, I see $53 million, and I know that that's in the future. That's not anything that's coming out of our budgets or anything like that right now. We're not choosing one thing over the other. But it just, that dollar amount really stands out to me. And then at the end of it, I see waiver of competitive bidding, and then that scares me a little bit. That scares me, but it also worries me that, I don't know how they operate. I don't know how they make these decisions. I definitely don't want to accuse anybody of good old boy tactics, but I feel like these, when we actually say in black and white waiver of competitive bidding, it concerns me.
So-
And I know that it's necessary to get those better deals. I completely understand that. So with kind of the anxiety I have about it, I would like to see more, Mayor, reports from the SCDC to the council. I know we have people on the council who are on there, but
We can't
I've
really,
never-
we really shouldn't be talking about that at this point, because that probably needs to be either an agenda item for future, because we can't really take
can I
action
mention it in
outside
my
of that.
comments at the?
Please.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One more question, please. When it says begin declaring an emergency, is that in regard to the waiver of the competitive bidding?
So I'll let Stuart answer that.
Yes, and specifically, it has to do with publication requirements. Because this is a public finance transaction, there's a very tight window. If I'm sure you've been watching the news with what's been going on with banks and bonds and all of that. That is the concern with these publication requirements that go into effect. If that declaration is not put in, it drags the timeline on the availability of the underwriter to be able to go out and get those negotiated transactions placed. Consequently, like I said, it speeds that along and it helps preserve the project instead of allowing it to go fallow because we're having to wait and possibly miss an opportunity for the underwriter to be able to actually place it. You get into a rate environment like we're in where you don't really know which way it's going every day. That's a lot of risk that can be mitigated by simply having this declaration in place.
And this is very similar to what we did with the Sigma plant when we created that TIF district as well. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we have an item on the table.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
No.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 4, consideration and possible action to approve the emergency clause associated with resolution above.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
No.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 4A, consider and adopt a resolution relating to industrial development, approving the incurring of obligations and indebtedness by Seminole Municipal Authority by entering into a replenishment agreement through the execution and delivery of a second supplement to replenish agreement by the Seminole Municipal Authority, the Seminole Utilities Authority, and the Seminole Economic Development Council relating to the Seminole Economic Development Council's taxable special obligation tax increment refunding revenue bond series 2016 in connection with the Sigma project financing.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 4B, consider and adopt a resolution approving the incurring of indebtedness by the Seminole Utilities Authority to provide funds to construct, equip, and operate a family entertainment and recreational center facility and retiring certain outstanding indebtedness of the Seminole Utilities Authority, consenting to the issuance of the bonds evidencing the same, waiving competitive bidding thereon, approving a sales tax agreement and a project agreement relating thereto, and declaring an emergency.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under ordinances, item 5. Please.
There's an emergency clause in that as well.
Yes.
Is that 4B?
Yes, the agenda, I don't see the actual
I don't
agenda
either.
item, but it's included within the,
Right, it said
Declaring an
agreement
emergency.
relating
But
to and declaring an
yeah, so
emergency.
you're gonna have to vote on that separately because
Okay.
we're gonna need a supermajority.
So can we modify that? Or
Yeah,
do we
you can
have
vote
to
on
just
it
on the same?
separately.
Okay, so under 4B as well, declaring an emergency.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you for that. Item 5, consideration and possible action to approve ordinance number 1286, an ordinance amending the aesthetic requirements for commercial buildings along Highway 377, Highway 9, and the downtown district.
Can you tell me what that means?
Sure.
I missed it. What happened?
The question was, what does that mean?
Okay, so many years ago, the Planning Commission came to the city council and said, look, we need to have some regulation on our main thoroughfares. Specifically, they targeted Highway 9 and also Milt Phillips. And their goal was, frankly, I think the ice cells in front of the hotel was the issue at the time. And they wanted something more attractive, more appealing than buildings like that. So they passed an ordinance and the city council agreed to pass an ordinance that you can no longer have metal or that type of facade. You must have a certain percentage of either brick, wood of some sort, decorative wood, unless it's part of a national chain's aura.
Facade. Facade.
Yeah, well, yeah, but things like Tractor Supply would fit within that, even though it's, not, but it's part of their national picture, their brand type. So the reason that this is on here is because in our ordinance, it's pretty specific about Milt Phillips and/or Wrangler Boulevard. Well, now that we've annexed more of Highway 9, that is not recognized as Wrangler Boulevard out that far. So what the Planning Commission requests is that that be extended out that way with the new commercial development, that be also on any new construction. This, obviously, it can be grandfathered in, but any new construction would need to comply with the ordinance.
Thank you.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under current business, item 6, consideration and possible action to approve closing Main Street from Broadway to Seminole Street for the Made in Oklahoma Festival from 5 p.m. on Friday, March 31st to 7 p.m. on Saturday, April 1st, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 7, consideration and possible action to approve closing Main Street from Broadway to Seminole Street for the 4th of July celebration on Monday, July 3rd, from 5 to 10 p.m.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 8, consideration and possible action to approve the contract with Rainbow Fireworks, Inc. of Inman, Kansas in the amount of $15,000 with $7,500 or 50% to be prepaid as a deposit upon signing the contract to provide public fireworks displays for the City of Seminole's July 4th Independence Day celebrations.
Move to
Is that-
approve. John Kramer said he'd cover the $7,500.
Thank you, John.
Second, John.
We have a question.
Was this, was there a contract, I see the contract, was there a bid for that?
Yes, we went out. I think that's why Fielding's,
I can't remember, just in case there's a question or two. Assistant Chief Scott Childers went out. I think he contacted 4 different places. We got 2 back. Of the 2 back, this was the best one. You get 1,400 shots in 20 to 2,300 minutes, or 20 to 23 minutes. And there's only $15,000. The other one we got back was from Ants Pyrotechnics, and it was 1,000 shots and $16,000. So there's, this rainbow was actually the better deal. So, and we had to do it probably like in a week or 2. And if we don't prove this now, then it's going to be hard to kind of secure somebody right now because everybody's going up. And they also warned us about the supply in China, and so they kind of got to start shipping it over now, I guess, the supply of fireworks.
They don't go off, they're gonna give us any money back?
I'm not really sure. They do have an 8-inch shell and a 10-inch shell.
I have another question. Is there any, when you're looking at fireworks, I know like one of the new trends is drone shows instead of fireworks. Are those any cheaper, or did you look at any of those?
I've seen them. They are really impressive. I saw one in Oklahoma City, the Thunder game one day, and they're really impressive. We should look into, I bet you Sean Carl, I don't think he's here, but
talking his language.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to look into that. They are really cool, though. So.
All right,
Maybe
thank
that'd be
you.
something for next.
Would you think about that in addition to fireworks or in place of?
I don't know. I would like to see one too, and I haven't seen one in person. But if it's cheaper than 15,000, but we still get a nice big display for how many minutes? 20 minutes or so. That would be something to look into. I think.
Maybe the Snowman Wonderland thing we do.
So these are, we're paying for this out of the fund that we just approved.
Yeah, that'll be coming out of tourism money that's received through the city.
Okay, 'cause it's not specified on here, so I don't know if that's something, just to make sure that we're not paying
Well,
out of a different.
Okay, what we would do is we'll front that out of Fund 92 because we don't have any motel or hotel tax dollars generated as of yet. We're projecting that the first quarter take will probably be in the neighborhood of $15,000. So, but the intent is certainly to take it from the tourism tax, hotel motel.
I was thinking back when we allowed fireworks to be sold within city limits that, and I don't know if that was official, but I was thinking that we had discussed the funds, the permit fees that were collected for that to go also toward this purpose. But I may be remembering incorrectly. It's been a while back.
You're correct. So, well, in partial, you're correct. We don't allow popping fireworks inside the city limits, but we do allow the sale. So what we do is we have a permit fee for the fireworks stands, and that fee, I think it's $500. So if we have 5, it generates $2,500. In the past, that's gone directly to the fireworks show. It will still do that. This will be utilized to offset any expense that goes toward fireworks.
Okay, just so everybody's aware, to be very fluent, or just be very clear, we're doing 4th of July on the 4th with fireworks. The Chamber of Commerce celebration is on the 3rd. So, just so everybody's clear about that, so we don't get any, because you're gonna have people that show up on the 3rd, like normal, inspect fireworks. We do them on the 4th, the next day. So I just wanna make sure everybody's aware of that, and if you don't like it, you can speak up, because that's gonna cause a little bit of grief with people from town who are used to it being on the same day. So, I'm not the total maker of the choice, but to me it would be odd, but maybe I'm the only one, but I'm just putting that out there. I don't know if you guys even went out to bid for any other days or options. And if we choose to do the 4th,
It was more just, spicy here.
yeah, I mean, if we make the decision to do the 4th, they can change their celebration to the 4th if they choose. But I'm just making sure that everybody's aware that. It's July 4th.
Tuesday.
I'm just saying.
Day.
I think it's a
I don't know.
Tuesday.
Yeah. So, just making sure that before we make a decision, everybody's aware of that, because I caught that. I don't want to be the one in the position to say, oh.
It's all your fault anyway.
Hey, I can take the blame, but I'm just saying, I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page, because we're going to need to mark the bed appropriately, because people are going to expect to park in the fields and in the softball parking lot, wherever you want to go, and if there are no fireworks afterwards, I don't think you're making one person look like they don't know what they're doing. You may make two people look like they don't know what they're doing, because it may look like we're scheduling something on the wrong day and vice versa. So just want to make sure everybody's aware of that before we vote on this, just in case anybody has another problem with it, just say. Okay.
It'll be advertised on the city website, right, and Facebook pages and social media?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, this doesn't specifically say we're gonna be doing it on the 4th of July, does it?
No, but if we vote this, he's going to go
This is July 4th.
with the contract that was presented in our packet.
Because your contract says the 4th of July is when the display will be, because this says Seminoles
Yes, it says,
July 4th Independence Day celebration, which
Yes,
could
it
be.
says, July 4th, 2023.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Just making sure we're on the same page, so that no one gets criticized afterwards, that's all.
I hear criticism the other way, that it's not on July 4th.
Yeah, it can be taken both ways. I just want to make sure we know it's going to be a different days. I don't really have a preference either way. I'm not going anywhere, so it doesn't matter to me, but.
It's too hot to go.
So we do have a motion on the table.
Did we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Okay, roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer. Yes. Motion passes.
Under current business, item 9, consideration and possible action to approve and/or modify the lease agreement with the Seminole State College Educational Foundation for the Brian Crawford Memorial Youth Baseball Fields League play.
Can someone explain that to me a little bit more?
We're on item 9.
This is the lease agreement.
Sorry, Brad's talking.
This is the lease agreement that we talked about last meeting between the city and SSEF to lease the ball fields on the new. When I
But
was
I
in-
don't see May 1 on there.
Well, it was in the contract that I didn't do, but we made it leave it blank. That's what I'm saying. I
Okay,
proposed May 1, but we
stand
didn't-
by. Let me look at our detail. I think I modified that. Jay, when I sent you that email, it was modified, right?
We're just trying to get. the
Just give me
dates right.
1 second.
Sure.
While he's looking that up, Mr. Mayor, I have a little bit of concern with the agreement on the fact that it says that we will be responsible for all mowing and trimming. And if they're gonna have tournaments out there on the weekends, why are they not responsible for some of that as well?
Good point. Yeah, thank you.
If you look at the date right here, the term should be from, okay, they put it from March 15th.
I did. I modified it.
I don't want them seeing Colin John out there on the
So
street.
it's all gonna be from March to June.
Yeah, March 15 to June 15.
Because I had it in, okay.
We're good. The one in your packet, the March 15 to June 15 is accurate.
So we have a question.
I'm sorry.
I just said I had a question with the agreement. It states that we will be responsible for all mowing and trimming of the facility. If they're going to have tournaments on weekends, why are we the only entity that is responsible for that?
That's a reasonable question. I think it's a trade-off. I think we got it for pretty darn cheap, and they are paying for the porta potties. So we're pretty good at mowing grass. We do it quickly. We take care of that stuff. We're not so good at some of that pumping porta potties, et cetera. So.
We'd be mowing our own and doing that anyway, right? We'd be mowing our own fields anyway.
Oh, yes.
right?
Well,
The people
Mr. Kramer, I have a feeling John's going to be doing it anyway.
It's pretty rough. I mean, there's not a lot to mow. It's pretty rough out there. Rocks, there's a lot.
Throw rocks, that's what you're saying?
There's a lot to mow, but there's a lot that needs, it's pretty rough.
Are you going to bring your mower?
I don't have one. Tornado got it.
Got insurance?
No, we didn't.
Had a question?
Please.
Okay, I'm sorry. Does that answer your question, Eddie? More or
I
less?
guess, I didn't see the mention of the porta potties, I must have skipped over that,
Yeah.
maybe intentionally.
Yeah, they're providing those porta potties and you know, the facility, obviously. It's pretty screaming deal for a small community to be able to have AstroTurf fields.
So, but, I just want to be clear that I'm reading this right. We're going to pay $12,000 for 3 months
Yes.
for use of their fields, and we have to mow it.
And
We have
what?
to so we're paying them $12,000 for 3 months, and we're still responsible, or the people who we lease to are still responsible for maintaining the area. What is so the 12,000 is, what are they out of, I guess? Do they keep, so that's one question. And then the second one is concessions and fees, does that go to Seminole State, or does that stay with the people who we lease it to?
That stays with the league to pay the umpires, et cetera.
I mean, they're paying utilities.
They are paying utilities.
I forgot, that's a big cost.
And insurance.
No.
Well, they have insurance on their own field.
I've got that too.
I think the main thing is we wanted to be able to remove those concessions once we're done with it, if those are ever relocated. That was one thing I think that you guys wanted, so that, I believe that's in there, those containers, so that's in there when it's time to relocate.
And they're nice. I was impressed.
It just, 12,000 for 3 months, just, and again, I'm not involved in baseball or renting fields, but that just seemed like an inordinate amount of money for 3 months worth of use. And we do have to share it, right, we're not just sole use of it for 3 months. Other entities will be using it as well, correct?
On the weekends, yes, ma'am.
I would say I hadn't thought about, they'll pay more than $12,000 in electric fees.
Yeah, and you're gonna tell 300 kids for that amount of money, you can't play baseball this year?
We have fields for them to play baseball on that we don't have to pay $12,000 for.
Where?
At the Blake Old. Blake Old,
They don't have lights
could the 12,000 not go towards that?
or concession.
At last meeting, it was $680,000 just for the lights.
We've already passed this and talked about and approved this, didn't we?
Not the least, we haven't.
The actual lease, we approved doing some improvements out there, but we've not actually approved the lease.
I move to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Brent Crabtree,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
No.
John Kramer. Yes. Motion passes.
Item 10, consideration and possible action to approve the final invoice and settlement of $73,000 for temporary roof repairs in the form of emergency shrink wrapping of city buildings that sustained damages during the May 2022 tornadoes.
So this is a negotiated settlement. Originally, man, I've got so many insurance claims going through my mind, but I do know that it was significantly more for the emergency repairs, and working with the Brown O'Haver Group, we've got it negotiated down to the $73,000 for the shrink wrap that was done immediately following the tornado. So this is kind of where we ended up with, the number that we ended up with. We're asking for your approval on that.
What is that? Where was is this a specific building or just across the board? All of them?
Sharon, I think it's across the board.
Okay. I was just curious if it was.
Yep. It was a lot more than that for everything originally.
Second.
So we had a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin. I'm sorry, John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Don't get to vote. All right.
Didn't have glasses.
We'll move on with remarks and inquiries of mayor and council members. I'll move to Ward 4, Chris Anson.
I don't have anything tonight.
All right.
Off guard, I wasn't prepared to that.
Ward 4, Trace Connor.
Just want to remind everybody of the prom thing for our, I guess, juniors and seniors and some sophomores. March 23rd, 6 o'clock at the bridge. Going to have dessert auction, silent auction, live auction. Hogs Barbecue is going to be there to cater the meal. If you have any questions, get hold of Beth Parks, Brandy Adams for table purchases. That goes to help keep all the kids safe, basically. Big shout out to the SHS golf team, first place at Wewoka this last, what was it, Wednesday or Thursday. They endured cold and rain and they won it, so good for them. Also, Smack Week, Seminole Making a Change. At high school, they're going to sponsor a family. They chose this year Julia Jager. She's a 5th grade at Northwood, and she has cancer.
Oh, my goodness.
She goes to all kinds of treatments and stuff. They're going to kick off Wednesday to raise some funds to help her. If you got any questions, get a hold of Marcy Stanfield at the Seminole High School, or if you know a student council member, the youth student council, get a hold of one of them. They'll be doing like a 3-on-3 basketball, a 5-on-5 dodgeball. You can attend the activity, pay your fee, and watch some fun. Also, one other thing, Bree and Tara Geist had organized an open mic night out there at 737. It was a great success. Had probably 100 people overall attend this event on a Tuesday, mind you. Great music from all genres, something for everyone. The next one is scheduled March 28th. Hope to see y'all out there. Okay.
Thank you. Ward 2, John Kramer. Ward 2, Eddie Foreman.
I'd just like to say that I appreciate what the people out at the golf course are going to be doing, the volunteer help in the city help, what they can do to be that. Having been involved with construction of golf greens 100 years ago, it's quite an undertaking to get them prepped and ready for the seed planting. The seed planting that's a walk in the park compared to what you guys have been doing. So I appreciate that.
All right, we'll move to Ward 3, Tim Poplin.
I agree with you, Eddie. I remember Mr. Austin when they putting those greens in before he even got it. It was a lot of work. I think it was bent grass that they put in.
Yep.
I mean, they wasn't gonna sell for anything but bent grass, but the new ones that you're putting in now, it's so much less maintenance, and, you know, if we get that length of time out of them, it'd still be amazing. But there's one thing, Mr. Baker, I'd like to say that you were talking about a while ago, about the miles of line that we put in, and there was some questions about it, but it's just not true that, you know, they could be putting a new line in over in an alley somewhere. The phone goes off and they have a leak down on 2nd Street. Is that the same crew that has to leave, or do we have different leak crews?
No, so what we've been able to do is cross-train everybody. So we may actually have a crew putting in the line and still be working 2 water leaks in different areas. In the past, yes, we would have to shut down the line construction.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So came together, everybody's cross-trained, and now we can do more than one task at a time.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Ward 3, Corey Crabtree.
I'm not a golfer. Most of you guys can probably tell that. If you don't, I'll just tell you. But I do appreciate you guys taking the time to work on that golf course. I think that's a beautiful representation of Seminole. Attracts a lot of people. You guys need to keep that in good shape, so I appreciate that. Bryant Public Works, those people do a lot of work and never get told thank you. So a lot of those people that are on those lines, I think if you stop and you see them working, you probably need to stop and just say thanks. I mean, we have running water, we have good lines, we're doing a lot of work. Just stop and tell them thank you.
That means a lot to them.
It does, it does. The new development, I don't go to that side of town because I don't have a kid in school. I don't go that way, but we went out the other night and it's so fascinating how fast that's growing. I think there were 5 or 6 houses up and I saw a lot of pads, what you can see from the road. So that's pretty impressive they were able to move that fast. So it's exciting to see that part of Seminole because we haven't had just a ton of new houses in quite a few years besides for over where you live. So it's good to see everybody here. I'm glad that we have so many people that are participating. A lot of times you come to council meeting, there's just a few of us here, but it's exciting to see everybody here and participating and wanting to know what's going on. A lot of times people depend on us to spread the word, but we can't get to everyone. So thank you guys for coming. We appreciate it. That's all I have.
Ward 1, Dana Miller.
So, Brian, well, first of all, welcome to Ward 1, everyone. Thank you I took a look at the resolution for the fair housing, and I think especially after the tornadoes last year, it's definitely, we all need to, be looking at that. A lot of people were displaced, and I know that was a topic we had talked about not too long after that, and so I'm glad to see that our council supports fair housing, so thank you. Bryant Baker, I just want to say Mado to you and your team. The thing that stands out for me is the 136 after-hours calls. So while we're all in bed, asleep, nice and warm, toasty, you all are out in, freezing weather, being taken away from your families. I don't know if I could ever do a job like that. I'm a big baby when it comes to things like that, so I want to say thank you all for that. So, Mado. Let's see. I had mentioned earlier, Mayor, that I would like to see, and I think I've asked for this before, but if we could maybe have a presentation from SCDC for the council, maybe if we could put them on the agenda sometime soon. I would like to meet them and hear from them specifically on what they do, to learn who they are, and how can we collaborate and work better with them, because there's a lot I don't understand about what they do and who they are. I did, for constituent issues, I did receive an item that I forwarded on to Steve, and it was about downtown businesses, and the lady had sent me a picture, and I had been downtown at the day before the rain, and it wasn't wet. We hadn't had rain, but there was a lot of sludge. So when I had walked from my car up onto the sidewalk, I had to take a giant step to miss the sludge because I was afraid I was going to fall. The pictures the lady had sent me were really big pools of water between or on the street where it meets the sidewalk. She was a business owner and was concerned that she already had one customer fall, and that she was afraid it was a deterrent from people coming to her business. So I agree with that. I think, Steve, what I heard from you was that you were going to have someone look into cleaning those drains out, but also this might be a bigger project down the road that's going to need some resources for it. So I just wanted to make you all aware of that these are real-time problems that our constituents are experiencing with the downtown area. And I just want to also thank Bree for encouraging the city to do something new with the music, the mic night. That was so, I didn't get to make it, but I saw pictures, and how exciting. Like that's something new. I think in town we think a lot about kids, or we think a lot about, of course our elders, but I felt like this was something kind of for everyone else to kind of go out and have some fun. The talent that was there, I saw some of the videos, And the creativity and the work that Bree put into it, I think is amazing. So I just wanted to say thank you to her and to Steve and your team. You guys are doing great. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ward 1, Larry Church.
Well, Seminole is an exceptional town. If you don't believe me, just go to other small towns in Oklahoma and see what you find. We've got a lot going for us, and it just seems to keep growing. And it's because of the hard work that everybody puts in. So that's, I'd just like to thank everybody for doing that. And we're gonna have to put up with me a while longer, I'm afraid. My doctor says I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've had that problem. It's in 200 block of Main Street on that. You know, we do have a street sweeper. No longer? Oh, well, that stinks. Okay.
You'll see it in the budget request.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one way to, I mean, we still may have water, but it may not be as bad, but I guess we don't have that, so never mind, I'll mark that.
We
on
had
the
a
list.
broom. We kind of, sort of have a broom.
Right. Well, hey, when I was in, I can't remember what city I was in, there was a guy on a side-by-side with a little blower on the back of it that he'd drive down and blow, and then behind it, they had a sweeper come along and sweeping, so it was like, okay, that's pretty cool. I could see Brian out driving that, but, so I love when our workers get to be talked about in positive ways, and all the work that they do and put in every day, as you said, as we're sleeping, they're out working, and I agree. Any chance we get to acknowledge them is great. I know if I see them out somewhere, I'll try to stop, and if they're in a hole with their head down, I'm probably not going to bother them. But they do things that is tough, and it's usually in the wintertime, and they're up to here in water, and but a city can't function without a good team. And again, I've said this before, but the fact that they're all on one team and are cross-trained, that is just a plus, and it's a great asset to the city, and helps those repairs get done a lot faster. So again, I want to thank those workers for the hard work they do, and it doesn't go unnoticed. I believe everyone here on the council and certainly know the type of work that they have to do and the hours they put in, and we do appreciate it. With that, I will move on to reports from our city manager, Steve Saxon.
So I guess the first thing I want to do is congratulate the Seminole Economic Development Council on getting the project through and all the building. And their members are Shelley Pogue, Zach Northrup, Jack Mattingly Sr., Mike McWright, former mayor, Neil Craig, Jeff Griffin, Bob Griggs, Trace Connor, and Chris Anson. That's the members that make up the SCDC group, and they've done yeoman's work on getting the new development up, and I just want to give them a little praise. Bryant, I'm super proud of you, sir, and the crews that work under you. They're clearly passionate about what they do, and that video wasn't long enough. I wanted to spend more time relishing in you guys' success. Bravo, man. When you do a job like that, you're not doing it for pay. You're doing it for the guy next to you. And if you can get folks to work as a team like they do, man, it shows, and it really does. So the progress is going well at the new baseball facility. We expect to be ready to have those kids out there pretty quick. I think their season starts maybe the first week or second week in April. We should be in plenty of time for them to start practicing before then, with all the amenities that you guys approved last meeting. So that's going great. Really excited about having high speeds through fiber optics. Can't wait. We had a great meeting with you guys on the pre-construction conference. I can't wait. It's overdue. We're ready to see it. As you saw in some of the work tonight, we continue to have insurance settlements coming in. I would say trickling in, right, Jay? Jay gets a check. What's this for? So then we go back and trace through all our files and finally get it nailed down. Slow process, but we're getting there. I think the community is beginning to look much better, in no small part to our code enforcement crew. Something, I may have mentioned this last time, but it's worth talking about again. Mr. Moon and Amy Churchwell, they have a hard job. When they're out there telling people that you gotta make this look better, it's not a pleasant job. And 9 times out of 10, I think Jay can attest to this. Probably 25% of the traffic we see in our offices is code enforcement, and almost always people feel like they're being picked on. They just feel like it was a personal assault or a personal attack on them. Something happened 2 weeks ago, maybe, where we had 104 tickets being heard, and all of those had hearings. And what ended up happening was actually a positive thing, because 104 people showed up thinking they were being singled out. So when they saw the sea of people that were there for their hearing, it became evident pretty quick, oh, I'm not really being singled out. They just kind of want this place cleaned up. And so it was a positive overall. And I think out of that, Sharon, I'm going to say a number and nod your head. I think we ended up with 29 agreements for abatement in lieu of. Okay? So, hey, that's a big win. That means we're going to get those things on the ground. The rest of them were reasonable. I think they're probably, of the 104, maybe 20, Shelley, tell me, 20-ish no-shows that didn't get there. So we're making progress on code enforcement. This community is going to sparkle. We're adamant, and we know that you guys have put the charge in us that we want it. We want it to look really good. I need to offer congratulations to the Seminole State men's basketball team. I got word that they're going to nationals. They just won, so they'll be going to Hutchinson, Kansas for their national tournament. Congratulations to them. Trace already covered prom thing. Open mic night will happen again March 28th, I think. And is it at the 737 again? Folks, if you haven't been to that was the first time Bree had attempted it. It was sensational. There's a lot of local newbies. These are just young folks. Most of them are young folks that were just trying to test the waters. Am I a real artist? Am I not? Can I perform in front of people? It was the coolest thing. So I encourage you, March 28th, if you get a chance, come out to that. Adam left, but the golf crews, they're making great progress, and we're super excited. You know, that was kind of a looming dark cloud over our community for the golf course, and especially the people that play golf. My gosh, the greens are essentially destroyed, and how are we going to make it through this? So you guys made the provision last month. Bryant got right on it, and it sounds like our golf association is going to jump in and offer all the elbow grease, or most of it. So we're super excited about that. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Our city attorney, Brad Carter, nothing. Okay. Well, with that, I would entertain a motion for adjournment. All those in favor, aye.